Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we'll be watching another internet historian video. This one is the story of Kony2012. I know some parts of this, but not the majority of it. So let's get into it. This is one of the longest ones we've seen from them. This is 17 minutes. So yeah, let's have some interesting conversations.
Kony2012 is the story of a man, Jason Russell, and his relentless quest to stop Ugandan warlord, Joseph Kony.
Oh, right. I remember this. Didn't he, like, go crazy? Not him, but, man, that other guy did a bunch of, like, crazy nonsense, right? Like, totally
unhinged. On March
unhinged.
5th, 2012, a charity called Invisible Children published a high-production video.
Right, it was the charity guy. I can't remember if they misrepresented where the money was going either. Man, this is gonna be interesting.
Called Kony2012. It was an awareness campaign seeking to mobilize action to capture or kill Ugandan warlord Joseph Kony.
And the goal of the story was to make Kony famous.
30 minutes long, it really tried to pull at your heartstrings.
At the end of my life, I want to say that the world we've left behind is one that Gavin can be proud of. A place that doesn't allow Joseph Konys and child soldiers.
And little Gavin would have been proud, because it took off like no video on YouTube ever had.
We wanted 500,000 views.
Right, like it skyrocketed, and at 2012, the massive like Mr. Beast type channels weren't a thing, right?
In the whole year of 2012. We got 500,000 views in the first 3 hours.
It received 100 million views in the first 6 days.
That was crazy at the time, right?
0.4 million likes. Click that link in the description below. They clicked it so hard the website went down, and their email was so inundated that the service provider assumed it was an attack and temporarily pulled the plug.
Wow.
The Times named it the most viral video ever. It raised the charity over $20 million. People really went fucking bananas for this video, and as you...
I mean, you could definitely do a lot with $20 million. The question is, what did they do with that $20 million?
Ugandan kids. 4 million hashtags.
I wonder
People
if it's still
changed their
earning
Facebook
ad revenue.
profiles, so you knew it was a big deal. A fan-made mobile game. Are you woke about Joseph Kony? Yeah, but are you woke?
Who made a mobile game about it? Oh yeah, I guess they've made mobile games about Trump, so I guess
enough to get a tattoo.
I'm sure there's a Biden one too.
People were up for pretty much anything to stop Kony, as long as it didn't involve any practical action.
Yeah.
One like equals one saved child.
Mm-hmm.
But who is Joseph Kony and what's all the...
I think that's what a lot of people do with charities. They're like, yeah, I donate $10 a month to a charity. I can help save a child when, 90% of the time, 90% of that budget doesn't go to anything in the charity except for overhead. Which is ridiculous, but
fuss.
Is what it is.
He's the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA.
My God, you're greasy.
And he really is one of the most evil people living today. Imagine the worst crime you can think of committing, and he'll have done it thousands of times over.
Takes children, makes them kill their parents and eat their parents.
The surviving girls would be kept as sex slaves, and the boys conscripted into the LRA as child soldiers.
I know, it's kind of a bummer.
It's all part of a civil conflict that's been going on for 30 years.
Okay.
I know, it's kind of a bummer.
It's all part of a civil...
I like how this is games for Windows. It's on Steam. Sid Meier's Ugandan Civil Wars. Includes all the other Civ games. That's a bit messed up, even for you, internet historian.
Conflict that's been going on for 30 years. We'll get into the details later, but for now, consider this our one-dimensional bad guy. And here's our protagonist, Jason Russell, the figurehead of Kony2012 and Invisible Children. He's a devout Christian, stereotypically Californian.
I do consider myself a refined valley dude.
But he has a bad boy side, too.
What, a Californian that likes guns?
In 2003, when, as a naive and aspiring...
I like Californians like guns. regardless of what people may think.
filmmaker, he goes to Uganda with two friends in search of a story. While driving through a rural village,
A car was shot in front of us by a rebel army who was led by a guy named
Oh, I gotta read this little part here. A bit misleading. It was a car that had taken the same road earlier in the day. Okay. They weren't even there. Man, I love how people like to twist the truth here.
Joseph Kony.
they drive to a city for safety and find this. Turns out it's part of a nightly routine. Kids live in the villages, but commute to the city to sleep there to avoid being kidnapped in midnight raids by the LRA.
Thousands and thousands of kids without an adult in sight.
Jason had found his story. And a cause. It must have made a real impression on him, because for the next 10 years he dedicated himself, almost exclusively, to trying to improve things in Uganda and
I wonder if he actually improved anything. Or was this just like some weird grift?
stop Kony. Kony2012 was the culmination, but in the preceding years he tried a bunch of other schemes. This,
The Bracelet Campaign.
this,
Twice daily broadcast about where the LRA is and where they're active.
and this.
Do what we always do.
So, like, from the beginning, it sounds like he really wanted to make a difference and actually tried to do a lot of good things, but I want to see how... Where's the point to where this changes?
Dance.
This is all real.
Wow.
We're on a mission, put Uganda deep inside your...
Maybe from the 1980s. Look, a lot of people get mad when I block part of the screen with my dumb face, which is... It used to be bigger, by the way. It used to cover like half the screen. Do you guys want me to bring it back and just cover like a full amount of the screen for a few minutes? Because this is a thing.
mind.
Wow.
It needs attention and a dance to make it sparkle and shine. We gotta shake it up and break it up and let the war without a gun.
Naturally,
What?
questions have been raised about his sexual orientation.
All these other rumors too that you were gay.
Yeah, I've heard those rumors.
Yeah.
My parents started a large children's theater organization, so I am
Theatrical.
theatrical.
It wouldn't matter if he was gay or not. I mean, as a devout ultra Christian, maybe, but as a figurehead. But man, that song. No. No.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Straight men are allowed to enjoy musicals. It's current year. Back to Kony2012. So the video lays out a plan called Cover the Night. Here's what you do. Pay $30 for your super special Kony action kit. Whoa, that's nice. In the kit you'll find 5 items. Button, bracelet, stickers, shirt, and these posters. Then, on April 20th, in the dead of night, go out and vandalize your town with awareness.
And wake up to hundreds of thousands of posters demanding justice on
Yeah, that sounds like interesting in theory, but this organization would have just literally painted a back on themselves for cities to sue them for vandalism.
every corner.
It was going to be amazing. Everyone was on board. The countdown to April 20th had begun. And all
Internet people are very fickle. They will be like, yeah, I'll go do it, but they won't actually go outside.
Jason and Co. had to do was keep the momentum going and not fuck it up.
New way
Jeez.
to move the world to action.
But this movie is not without critics.
Critics say the film manipulates the facts,
Simplifying the story.
oversimplifying a wildly complex
The
issue.
message is too late.
Joseph Kony and his forces have been significantly reduced.
Pro-war activism.
Utterly naive to
By
think
next week, this will
This
be
only was a day later before even... Was this like... Is this 5... So the timer was interesting. It was... I think it was 5 days, or maybe it's 5 hours. But if it's 5 hours and then they went and did this, but it just looks like it failed badly.
passing
These
fad.
white Westerners sort of getting on a bandwagon, and actually they haven't got a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
A day or two later,
that's normal for a
heavy
lot of
excitement
activists.
Gave way to more down-to-earth analysis. Media commentators started making scathing critiques of the video, and testimony from Uganda wasn't entirely positive either.
It's unfortunate that we can have people who are merchandising, but using people's problems.
Then it got really serious. Teenage girls started weighing in.
Kony, so I asked my mom, and my mom laughs and goes, "He died like 5 years ago."
This is wrong, by the way, but it was seen by 4 million people. From a source of "my mum said it, so it must be true." The term slacktivism started cropping up more and more. Legitimate questions were asked. How will the money donated be spent?
That invisible children would send would have to go to the Ugandan.
The only person I've ever actually really seen anyone do anything about anything is Mr. Beast. Which, you know, love him or hate him, you actually see videos of him actually building things in different places to help people. I don't know if it's Uganda. I don't watch a lot of Mr. Beast videos anymore. They just keep getting more and more ridiculous. but the donation side, for the most part, you know, he goes out and actually does something. Like, did these guys actually do anything? Did they build any wells? Did they build any infrastructure? Did they do anything with the money aside from just hold on to it?
Military.
You know, like the completionist.
Why did you put your son in the film?
You know, why would you put your son in the film? You know, why did you put yourself in the film? It was questions about our sincerity.
Why are they saying Kony is in Uganda when he's actually in the Central African Republic? Invisible Children wasn't popular among other charities either. They were hogging the limelight. And they released Kony2012 just 2 days before International Women's Day, a critical fundraising time for some. Even the Ugandan Prime Minister took a few jabs.
I mean, okay, if you're going to put out a fundraiser and you put it out before another fundraiser, I don't know if that's bad or not. That's just optics in certain ways.
Need a sleek video on YouTube for us to take notice.
Once people started feeling misled, they turned against the organization and squared the blame on one person. The pressure was building. Online backlash and a hectic schedule was starting to take a toll.
My phone was getting 10 text messages every second. It was just...
Millions of supporters on one side, millions of critics on the other.
Wait,
on and on.
I gotta see that.
Make supporters on one side.
No, I misread that.
Millions of critics on the other.
On and on and on.
Make Kony famous? Well, it made Jason famous too. And the pressure came.
I like how we see the Shia LaBeouf paper bag in like every 4 videos from the internet historian. Yeah, I mean the problem here is it's kind of just propping up, you know, a couple of things, but it's not actually like fixing any problems. They haven't apparently done anything.
He was flying all over the country to spread his
Wasting
message.
money.
Took the red eye to New York, landed at 5 in the morning.
Working around the clock.
On the Today Show, People Magazine, Reuters. By day 3, I was in LA doing interview after interview after interview. 17 interviews in 48 hours. Wow. So
He was sleeping less and becoming more erratic.
not being able to sleep, not being able to stop my racing mind.
Criticism from every direction.
Then it was like, you're the worst. You're terrible. And Kony's dead.
They started saying the whole project was for his ego, or based on greed. And not just criticism, responsibility. How are you going to stop children from being murdered, Jason? You promised a solution, Jason.
Yeah, that's part of the problem with charities, though. They always promise solutions. They always promise to do certain things, but they rarely ever do. A lot of big charities, unfortunately, the majority of the money that they get just comes from people trying to avoid tax situations and get bigger tax breaks on other things. So
when are you going to deliver, Kony?
At the end
they
of
never
that
really
day,
do anything.
My mind was exhausted.
To release the pressure, he and his family tried to take a couple of days off by going to Palm Springs. But people recognized him there too, so they hid away in their hotel room with the curtains closed.
Yep.
Jason was starting to crack. Paranoia, delusions of grandeur. He went with his family to see the Lorax, and he thought the film was speaking to him directly.
Okay.
Voices in Jason's head told him that he needed to get to New York in the next 12 hours or Kony would win, whatever that meant.
Oh, wow, he was definitely losing it, wasn't he? Jeez.
Then, he stripped off all of his clothes and ran out into the street.
I was on a street in San Diego, totally naked and crazy out of my mind. Someone driving by in a car took a video on their phone, and they sold it to TMZ for $30,000. And then my naked and crazy mess went viral as well.
Some of...
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Was he actually doing this? Looks like he was just in the street, but okay.
Said that he was jacking it and that he was on drugs. Neither is true.
Okay.
It's just a very distressed man having a mental episode.
Were you also masturbating? Did I hear that too?
No one who was there ever said that that was happening.
Yeah.
I'm naked, so it's not a far extension of, imagination.
He was taken to the hospital, not jail.
Police say when they showed up, they didn't see any of that and was taken to a local medical facility, that he was not arrested, though.
And there, he thought the staff were trying to kill him.
Just one of those things where I'm like, I don't believe what you're saying. You're trying to kill me.
He ran around in his underwear, kicking in doors until eventually he was subdued and sedated.
You come back to yourself as you know yourself.
2 weeks.
2 weeks? 2 weeks, whoa.
Yeah.
Later on,
yeah, it's a pretty bad break. I mean, that amount of stress will definitely do a number on you, but geez.
Sharona Reed tried to sue Mr. Russell for the trauma of having to see him do naked calisthenics. As far as I can tell, though, that lawsuit went nowhere.
Just close your window. Oh my gosh.
Can you think of anything else that's worse than running around naked going like this on TMZ?
Well, maybe one thing.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Imagine if that was naked. That'd be so
While
bad.
all of this was happening, the countdown to the day of action was still ticking. Thousands of kits had been sold. Get ready for an awareness campaign so effective you'll think you're living in Uganda. The kids rolled out into the street. Selfie sticks and posters ready. Let's do it. Let's save those kids. We're changing the world.
Wait a second.
Just ready. Let's do it. Let's save those kids.
Where is it? Okay, I don't know what this one is, but is this from the from that video, the downfall of Tony the Tiger video that we watched, where that guy created those parodies?
We're changing the world. Oh, God, yes. But it wasn't all well intended. Some took it as a chance to vandalize their neighborhood with them.
Yeah, that's what I figured would happen. Of course, they were basically given a free pass to be like, oh yeah, let's go vandalize everything. We'll be fine. It's for a charity.
Impunity. The adults were left to clean up the mess. And despite the impression you might get from this fancy montage, the turnout was abysmal. Here are some figures. Toronto, 50,000 people registered. Real attendance? 50. Sydney.
It's because it's too risky. No one was going to do it if everyone will register online. They're all going to register online. They're all going to do it anonymously. But they're not going to do it in real life because there's a risk of being arrested, a risk of messing up your entire life over something stupid as a poster. And that's why it wasn't going to happen. You know, the people that actually did it are already don't need jobs or want jobs.
18,000 people registered. Real attendance? 12. Montreal, 4,800 registered. Real attendance? 0. Instead, they cancelled their event and put up a post calling Invisible Children a fraud organization. This is what 4 million Kony hashtags gets you. Now, I bet you want to know where Invisible Children, Jason Russell, and Kony are now.
Yeah, that's actually
But
really
before I tell you
important.
that,
I want to see if they
wanna go on
spent
two
any
quick
money.
tangents of things I found while researching.
Is that
In
the first
Kony
time in the video we
2012
saw
video,
him
you'll
in
see
the,
this
his
guy,
normal?
Louis Marino Ocampo, Chief Prosecutor for the International Criminal Court. This would be the organization that charges Kony if he was ever caught.
Right.
Well, in 2017, a bunch of Louis' emails were leaked, and they detailed one hell of a caper to catch Kony and bring him to justice. I'm not making any of the following up, right? Okay. Here's the plan. Lure Kony out of the jungle with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie as bait.
Straight from a Hollywood movie, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt attempting to arrest an African warlord.
So it would go, the A-list couple would fly to the edge of the jungle where Kony is hiding and call him up with an invitation to dinner. Kony,
What?
starstruck, would of course say yes. He'd show up, presumably
How is this a real idea? It sounds more like, let's create this idea, but let's funnel money into my account instead and say we thought about it, we tried, but we just couldn't.
bottle of wine in hand and ready to mingle. Then, imagine his shock. It was a trap all along. Special forces would pop out from behind the salad bar and get their guy.
One idea appears to have been for Angelina Jolie to lure him to a private dinner where he would be arrested.
It was a foolproof plan, but unfortunately, it was never realized. Once Miss Jolie stopped responding to Louis' weird emails, Ocampo approached George Clooney for...
He actually sent emails to these people? Oh, is this guy like related to the to what's his name, the other guy?
Use of his spy satellite.
The chief prosecutor had also attempted to recruit George Clooney in a plot to fly spy satellites over Libya.
Yes, that's correct.
What?
George Clooney partnered with a satellite company to spy on al-Bashir of Sudan. Okie doke. Anyway, he responded that the satellite wasn't powerful enough. So then Ocampo moved on to his backup date, Sean Penn, whom he invited to the UN Security...
Was this guy just having a mental breakdown? Like, but he has access to all these people because, you know, he... What?
Security meeting in South Sudan. What?
Yeah, okay, that's what?
And there were some people having fun with Kony2012 as well. Turns out Kony looks a lot like Carl Weathers in the movie Predator. So an idea was formed.
Oh, jeez.
Take this screenshot from Predator, post it on Facebook, and say how great he is without mentioning the name. Then wait for some slacktivists to immediately assume it's Joseph Kony. Then you call them racist. It was good for a few minutes of fun. Then they tried it on the official meetup pages. Promptly deleted. And we're back. So get a load of this total car crash dumpster fire shitstorm diaper hurricane, am I right, guys? Well, no. Despite all the mishaps and poor turnout, Kony2012 was a massive success. The goal was to make an obscure warlord in rural Uganda a household name. And they succeeded. A reach in the hundreds of millions
I did remember
on
that
a budget
name.
of about $1.5 million. Any marketing agency would kill for that. In fact, 7 years later, you probably clicked on this video because you have some vague notion of Kony and that video already. Now, let me give you a very brief rundown on where everyone is, then let's get out of here. Invisible Children. Outside of long-term and small-scale projects, they've largely ceased operations. Joseph Kony. He's still out there, but his army is shrinking and splintering. He is effectively in hibernation. And Jason Russell. He's no longer with Invisible Children. He's also been breakdown free since 2012, but he's still doing the activism thing. Look, I've had to gloss over so many details.
Yeah, well, I want to know where the money went, because I remember they initially raised $20 million. Was it just Jason Russell flying across the world doing events and never actually raising any additional money?
This video. And there are so many more questions to be answered, but I don't want this video to be an hour long or to take 2 months more to make, so I'm going to round this one off with a Q&A on the second channel. What about that $20 million they raised?
Yeah,
Why
there we
didn't
go.
the US military
Where'd
or
that
the
go?
Ugandan military ever just bomb the shit out of Kony? What did Kony have to say about the video? All of these questions, and a ton more, plus any questions you may have of your own. Uganda want to see it. Boo.
That's probably on the second channel. All right, well, we'll probably make it to the Q&A section at some point. This video just left me with a lot of questions. Jason Russell's probably not the most stable person to be running a charity. But I guess it could be worse. I mean, there are probably worse charity channels. It looked like he really wanted to do something good and just didn't have the knack for it. It just seems to be how it was. It was a pretty interesting video. Yeah, go subscribe to the Internet Historian. Have a good day, everyone.